Imagine a rugby league powerhouse, the Canberra Raiders, getting absolutely demolished 62-24 by the upstart Dolphins in a game that should have been a walkover, but instead turned into a nightmare of errors and inexperience that left fans stunned and questioning everything. If you're shocked by that thrashing, hit subscribe right now for NRL Insider's raw breakdowns that uncover the truth behind every tackle. The final whistle blew at KO Stadium, and the scoreboard screamed humiliation for the Raiders, a side that had clinched the minor premiership just days earlier. But with 11 star players rested ahead of finals, coach Ricky Stewart fielded a green lineup that crumbled under the Dolphins' relentless assault. Hamiso Tabuai-Fidow, the Hammer, exploded with a hat-trick, pushing his season tally to 22 tries, while Try Fuller dazzled at fullback, and rookies like Tavita Norfahu added doubles in a 30-0 halftime blitz that had commentators buzzing. The Raiders, usually a defensive wall, leaked points like never before, completing only 67% of their sets and coughing up 11 errors that kept them pinned back for over 70 minutes. Stewart, ever the straight shooter, didn't sugarcoat it in the presser. He labelled the performance flat-out unacceptable, saying it exposed raw truths about his squad's depth. Yet, amid the wreckage, there was a silver lining he highlighted. This bloodbath was a brutal classroom for the youngsters, teaching them the unforgiving nature of NRL standards. As the Dolphins celebrated a club record 12 wins and the league's top attack with 721 points, finishing 9th but hungry for 2026, the Raiders licked their wounds, knowing finals loomed. But just when you thought the story ended there, Stewart dropped insights that could reshape their playoff path, forcing everyone to wonder if this loss was a wake-up call or a fatal crack. Deep into the press conference, with reporters probing the debacle, Stewart turned the spotlight on what this meant for his inexperienced crew. Players who'd barely tasted top-grade action now thrust into a high-stakes firestorm. He explained how the game peeled back layers, revealing how they handle pressure scenarios, errors piling up like dominoes in a windstorm. It wasn't just about the score, it was the mental toll, the way the Dolphins' electric backline sliced through defenses that were supposed to hold firm. Retiring legend Mark Nichols even got a fairy-tale try and conversion for the winners, adding insult to the Raiders' injury-riddled season finale. Stand-in captain Corey Horsburgh admitted the fun in fighting back, but pride couldn't mask the pain of such a lopsided defeat. Stewart praised the Dolphins' hunger, crediting Christian Wolff's side for playing with finals-like intensity despite being out of contention, a stark contrast to his own team's sluggish start. As questions flew, one reporter dared to ask about the upcoming qualifying final against the Broncos, wondering if Brisbane had evolved since the Raiders' early season 32-22 win over them. Stewart paused, building tension in the room, before delivering a response that had everyone chuckling yet pondering its edge. But hold on, what exactly did he say that turned heads and sparked debates across the league? The answer might just reveal the mindset of a coach gearing up for war. Welcome to NRL Insider, where we dive deeper into the drama that keeps rugby league alive. Stay tuned for more. Shifting gears to that Broncos bombshell, Stewart's reply was pure gold, a classic sidestep that showcased his wit under fire. When pressed on whether the Broncos were a superior outfit now, he quipped without missing a beat, admitting he doesn't obsess over their games like the media does. It was a moment that lightened the mood but underscored his focus, labeling the Broncos a red-hot threat, a very good football team that demands a massive effort from his Raiders in the finals clash. This wasn't deflection. It was strategic, reminding everyone that past wins mean nothing when playoffs hit. Stewart's plea earlier in the week to the NRL about scheduling echoed here, warning that any finals move could hand Brisbane an unbelievable advantage, potentially tilting the scales unfairly. As he wrapped up, he emphasized the lessons from the Dolphins' drubbing would fuel their fire, turning embarrassment into motivation for a drought-breaking title push. The Raiders' path forward? It's laced with uncertainty, but Stewart's belief in his core group's character shines through, especially after Golden Point heroics earlier in the season. Yet, with the Hammer's late knee injury clouding the Dolphins' off-season and whispers of roster shakes, the league's landscape feels electric. What if this thumping sparks a Raiders' renaissance, or crumbles their confidence just when it matters most? The finals await, and every fan is on the edge. Wrapping this up, remember that in the NRL, one game's catastrophe can birth the next triumph, as Stewart's Raiders regroup for Broncos Armageddon. His take on the standard, or lack thereof, serves as a rally cry, while that Broncos zinger keeps the rivalry sizzling. For all the latest twists, from injury updates to insider scoops, there's only one place to be. That's NRL Insider. Subscribe now and never miss the action. At that point, Tabuai-Fidow was threatening to run down Mark Nawaqanitawase for the NRL's top try scorer gong, but a suspected MCL injury cut his afternoon short in what Fox League's Andrew Voss described as a sad sight, given the form he was in. There was still plenty of highlights to come, even with the Dolphins speedster off the field. However, headlined by a fairytale final try and successful conversion for the retiring Mark Nichols. Nichols quickly came crashing back to earth on the next set as he dropped the ball to gift the Raiders a full set on the Dolphins' line, and Noah Martin crashed over as Canberra quickly cashed in. Raiders debutant Joe Roddy also scored a double in the space of 3 minutes to give Canberra fans a rare reason to smile, but otherwise it was all the Dolphins, with Norfahu and Jermaine Isako crossing late as the home side brought up the half-century. Fuller then capped off a standout afternoon with a line break to set up Avarillo for the final try of the afternoon. How does it all work? The big question for Dolphins in 2026. While the Dolphins may have fallen short of a maiden finals berth, there are once again reasons to be optimistic that Christian Wolff's side is on the verge of putting it all together. Putting injuries aside, and they have been the biggest issue for the NRL's newest franchise since entering the league, the Dolphins have one of the most electric backlines in the league. The question for Coach Wolff, however, is figuring out how to fit them all together, especially with Brisbane's Sailwind Cobbo joining the club in 2026. Try Fuller continues to prove that he deserves to be a regular first grader next season, which would lock Hamiso Tabuai-Fidow into the centres along with the injured Herbie Fanworth, while Jermaine Isako is guaranteed one spot on the wing. Of course, it is easy to forget how strong a start to the year Jack Bostock had too, and he would potentially take the other vacant spot in the backline. But that would mean both Jake Avarillo and exciting rookie Tavita Norfahu missing out along with Cobbo. Greg Alexander described the Tabuai-Fidow and Fuller combination as dangerous in commentary for Fox League, prompting Andrew Voss to ask the question Wolff must be thinking at the moment. How does it all fit in? Voss asked, how does it all work with Fanworth fit and Jack Bostock back? You have a bloke called Selwyn Cobbo coming to the club. Try Fuller has to be there somewhere. How do they make all these parts fit in their backline? Fuller in particular was a standout in just his 4th NRL game this season, finishing with 158 run meters, 2 try assists, 3 line break assists, 2 line breaks and 7 tackle busts. Alexander called Fuller an excitement machine and genius, declaring you could put together a highlights package from his 4 games that would having you thinking he's a superstar. Voss, meanwhile, said rugby league fans would be robbed if Fuller isn't. Full-time NRL player in 2026. This guy has to have a spot, he added. It is a good headache for Wolff to have, especially given the injury curse the Dolphins have battled since entering the league, and one he will have plenty of time to ponder over the summer. Can Raiders break the 50-point premiership curse? History says the Canberra Raiders cannot win this year's premiership after conceding 62 points to the Dolphins on Sunday. No team has ever won a grand final after conceding at least 50 points in a match that season. Of course, this gives Canberra the chance to defy history in a month's time if they can reach the decider. Given the Raiders were resting nearly 2/3 of their best available 17, Ricky Stewart won't put much weight in Sunday's result, if any at all. I know what people are saying. When you concede 50, you can't win a comp. I don't know if there's a caveat when you have 11 regulars missing,